Welcome to the High Archievers Collapsible Bridge FEDD project presentation. Our group members include Kate Lawhorn, Jonathan Martin, Jake Moyer, and Zachary Marshall.
The first part of our project required research. After meeting for a brainstorming session, the team separately researched potential designs that would fit inside the FEDD parameters and constraints. A bridge will feel forces in different shapes can withstand some forces better, or utilize the ability to distribute force. The most typical types of forces are listed being compression, tension, torsion, and shear. Next, we needed to know which material would optimize our design. Research was done on real-world applications, but for our project, we considered aluminum and wood. The pros and cons are stated on the slide, however, I have to add that aluminum sacrifices strength for its lightweight properties. Lastly, the team considered different resilience parts to collapse our bridge, yet keeping it strong and stable simultaneously. To go into more depth into the distribution of forces, the team conducted research on two designs, the arc and truss bridge. Basically, the arch bridge distributes a center force to each end. Compression will be acting upon the arc bridge while an opposite force will be produced by the ground. A stable foundation is needed for the design. A truss bridge looks like an array of triangles. The bridge will feel tension and compression, but its design is able to move the forces into an optimal position. We needed to decide on a bridge that would fare the best under the FEDD conditions, having a collapsible bridge and needed to hold 60 pounds. There were some important questions we had to ask ourselves. We could brainstorm a design, but realistically it would have to fit inside our limitations of space, time, tools, and skill level. The team finally decided on the design for a bridge, an arc bridge. We decided for one team member to gather supplies, another to create a model in Fusion 360, and the other two were responsible for FEDD assignments. With this, we created a timeline.
For the timeline of our project, we began with independent research into the stability of various bridge designs in previous FEDD projects on October the 5th. This was followed by a group meeting on the 10th in which these ideas were compared and contrasted against one another. By the following Sunday, the project research had been completed and submitted, with materials also being obtained for our prototype bridge. The following week, we had completed milestone 1 and fulfilled the requirements to utilize the entrepreneurship garage. By November the 10th, we had built our initial design and tested it successfully as it held up to 60 pounds. The next week was devoted to finalizing the end product, with the bridge completed by the 20th of November in time for FEDD Day on the 26th.
After creating a plan and a timeline, the next step of the engineering design process is to create the product. In this case, we bought and gathered the materials we plan to use, which included 2x4s, plywood, studs, paracord, screws, an eye bolt, and a tensioner. Admission to the e-garage was attempted in order to gain access to tools, but was not granted in time in order to use them to our full potential. Therefore, tools from a team member's home were used. We constructed the prototype with the dimensions taken from the Fusion 360 rendering of the bridge. However, several issues were soon to arise from our prototype. With our first prototype, we used a Ryobi circular saw to cut the 2x4s. This caused inaccurate angles to be cut, and they had to be trimmed using a table bandsaw. To connect the boards, holes were drilled into the ends of the 2x4s and the studs were inserted into them. Sadly, the holes were not drilled exactly orthogonal from the board face and caused the joints to not sit flush. This first prototype also weighed over 7 pounds, which exceeded the 5-pound limit. To improve the bridge, a second prototype was made. This time, our team gained access to a chop saw that was able to cut at exact angles, and we constructed a jig to drill perpendicular holes. A planer was used to reduce the overall board width by 1/4 inch, and holes were drilled to further reduce the weight. An additional measure for weight reduction was the drop from 2 studs per joint down to 1, as the steel proved to be a decent part of the overall bridge weight. The eye bolt was also removed, and the paracord and tensioner idea was not implemented for the sake of weight.
At the beginning of the project, we decided to make a group chat together so we could communicate easily. We also decided to meet as a group at least once every week so we could work together, as well as make sure everyone knew what they had to do for their assignments. We made a rough timeline at the beginning with all the due dates as well, so we knew when everything needed to be turned in. Overall, our group worked very well together as we took into account everyone's opinions to try to look for better ideas for the project, and in the end, we had lots of fun.
The final bridge design emerged from our second prototype and weighed only 4 pounds 14 ounces, and was tested to have a load capacity of over 60 pounds. The bridge was tested outside and stood with and without weight in 20 mile per hour winds, giving it fair stability in its lateral movement. We felt confident with this knowledge heading into FED.
It's also a function of the way it's being out.
Oh.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine, and you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
At FED Day, our bridge was assembled in less than 20 seconds, well under the 1-minute limit. It weighed in at 4 pounds and 14 ounces, also under the 5-pound limit. However, the bridge collapsed due to the unsecured tables on which it rested sliding apart on the slippery carpet. Because of this, our design did not place. However, other teams commented on how they liked our design and felt that the judging tables should have been secured in some way.
If we were to do this project again, we would make sure that the area to place the weights would be more distinguished, as well as changing the design to something that would not push the tables backwards. Looking at the teams that won, we probably would change the design to something like a simple truss bridge, or something else that sat on top of the tables instead of fitting in between. We would also choose to construct the bridge out of a stronger and lighter material such as aluminum, as we found after the fact that making a smaller bridge out of metal would still be within the weight limit, but would be much stronger than the wooden bridge. We would have also made the design look more aesthetically pleasing if we had more time, such as painting the bridge with NC State graphics, which would have given us a few extra points in the final competition. Some valuable advice we would give to future teams would be to communicate with the coordinators of the project, be aware of your resources, don't procrastinate, and make sure you know when all the deadlines are, test the bridge under competition conditions, and try to find the most simple design, since making it too complicated introduces more problems.